I went to 4 different malls in Gaborone, Botswana, and I'm gonna rank them from my personal okay to my personal best. To be fair, I enjoyed every single one of these malls. I just liked a couple of them more than others. But let's start with number 4, Main Mall. So, Main Mall is the oldest. It was formed way back in 1963. My mom, who's from Botswana, remembers it being one of the only malls around when she was a teenager. It's mostly an outdoor mall with booths set up throughout the street and brick and mortar shops on both sides. You can get so many things here, with the main thing being clothes, including traditional fashion, which if you're a tourist, you'll definitely want to scoop some up because these clothes are gorgeous. But you can also find more casual wear like t-shirts and shorts. You can also find shoes, jewelry, bags, all very unique wearables. There were also quite a few tables selling food, like beans, grains, fruit, and just the typical items you would expect at a marketplace. Outside of this main street, there are a few eateries, like this one we found near the parking lot called Bravo Restaurant, with some tasty chicken and rice, and another one I unfortunately didn't get the chance to eat at called Main Deck. There's one food I really wanted to try here, but unfortunately it wasn't in season. It's called mopane, and it's basically a fried edible caterpillar or worm. My mom had it way back when she was younger, and she said it tasted like chips. When I come back to Botswana, I hope to try it for the first time. Overall, if you're visiting Gaborone, you should definitely try and visit Main Mall if you have the time. It wasn't as bustling as I was expecting, but I did like that I could find a lot of traditional fashion and other items. Another thing that I really liked, especially in comparison to other countries that I've been to, is that Botswana vendors are very polite. Like, they're not calling out to you, they're not pretending to be nice, and they're not following you around just to get you to buy something. I would say Botswana in general are actually very polite and peaceful, so that made for a very anxiety-free shopping experience. I was able to just walk around the mall at my leisure, go to different shops and different booths, and not feel like I was under pressure to buy something. Now let's get into number 3. This mall is very different from Main Mall, which was more like a marketplace. Riverwalk is partially outside, but it's more of a typical modern mall with a variety of larger stores, restaurants, multiple floors, escalators, and much more. Riverwalk also has a handful of booths selling traditional clothing. Nowhere near as much as Main Mall, but if you're already at Riverwalk, you can get some really nice things here. They have a store called Hi-Fi Corp, which if you're from the US or Canada, is like a Best Buy. So it's basically an electronics store. They also have a store called Pick and Pay where you can buy groceries or get some food to go. Speaking of food, there are a few small eateries here, including Mug and Bean, which is popular all over Gaborone, as well as a few other small fast food places. They also just opened Bukhara, which is a Turkish and Indian restaurant with very good food. This mall also has a very nice Mr. Price store. For my foreigners watching, Mr. Price is similar to Forever 21 or H&M. It's a fashion store that I would say appeals mostly to a teen and young adult crowd. And it has a special place in my heart because my cousin actually manages many of their locations in Botswana, so we had to swing by and get a few items. We just had to. I ended up getting this beautiful dress and this brown tank top here, which I absolutely love. Overall, I love how this mall has a little bit of everything. Now for number 2, Fields Mall. Fields Mall is one of the newest malls in Gaborone. It just opened in 2022 and it definitely feels like it. This is probably the most modern mall in Gaborone. It's small, mostly indoors, and nicer than a lot of other malls I've visited in the United States. Here, you'll find a lot of popular franchises in Botswana, like Woolworths, which is a South African clothing and grocery store. Mr. Price, once again, in fact they have 2 Mr. Price stores here, the regular Mr. Price and then a Mr. Price Sport, which my mom had a good time shopping at as a fitness enthusiast. This mall actually has a lot of clothing stores and a good variety of them, from casual dress to a little fancier. Similar to Riverwalk, there's also a grocery store called Super Spar. We came here a bunch of times just to grab takeout and snacks, and the food was delicious. Also, speaking of food, outside the mall is where you'll find all the eateries. Nothing too fancy. We went to this cafe that also sells furniture, and we bought some very tasty smoothies. There are also a few other fast food places like this pizza place, and some of the eateries even do delivery on motorcycles. But by far, my favorite place to eat at here was Doppio Zero. We probably came here about 7 or 8 times during our 3-week stay. Like, they have such a wide variety of food on their menu. The service is really good. The food is excellent. I might just do a review on another video. We'll see. And now on to the last mall we visited, Airport Junction. It sounds like a strange name for a mall, but I'm assuming it's because it's pretty close to the Gaborone airport. This is by far one of the biggest, if not the biggest mall in Gaborone. It's pretty much an indoor mall and it's multi-story. It has a lot more stores than the other malls we went to, and it's very modern. I also recognize a few international stores, including Cotton On. They also have a playground for kids and a gym. There are quite a few places to eat at too, including a sports bar outside and my favorite place here, Bukhara. If you remember, Bukhara has a location at Riverwalk Mall too, but this is the original location in Botswana, and personally, this one is a lot more fun. Out of all of these malls, my two favorites were the Fields and Airport Junction. The Fields Mall was only a 3-minute drive or a 12-minute walk from our hotel at room 52, so we would go there almost every day just to get groceries, but also to get money from the ATM at the mall because it was one of the few that actually worked with our debit cards. Unfortunately, we only found out about Airport Junction like 2 days before our trip ended, which felt like a crime. There's so much here as far as restaurants and places to shop that aren't just fashion stores. If I come back, I'd like to try out more of the restaurants here because there just wasn't enough time. Stay tuned for my next video where I take you through some of my favorite restaurants in Gaborone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.